Hey everybody, it's Doc, and welcome to the channel. And today I'd like to introduce you to two other Doc Frosts. This is my brother, Dr. Mark Frost, and my brother, Dr. Chris Frost. And today we are going to talk about a very interesting car, which is a 1978 Mercedes 450 SL. This car has been in our family since brand new, 46 years. And so Chris adopted it from Dad. When did you buy it?
1990.
And what did he charge you for it?
$21,000.
And how many miles were on it then?
I honestly,
not many, I don't think.
No, not many.
It was less than 20,000,
yeah,
I think.
I would guess, yeah, that's
so
about right.
You've loved this car, and this car has 77,000 miles
yes.
on it now. And you know, you really don't see these too much anymore. It's a car that, believe it or not, had 17 model years unchanged. So from 1971 to 1989, this car was relatively unchanged, other than the engine, basically.
Updating the brakes and the engine.
Actually, the brakes, get a load of this. In 1971, this car had four-wheel disc brakes, and it was, I think it was originally a 3.8 liter engine.
Okay.
So don't hold me to that. So
I think 3.5 actually.
Was it 3.5?
Yeah.
Okay.
350 SL.
And then so currently this model, the 450, being the 4.5 liter V8, which has mechanical Bosch fuel injection, which was unusual for the time as well. And this particular car, our father picked up European delivery, and after he got it back, he put on the European headlights. So it's kind of an odd combination of US spec bumpers with European headlights. You know, it's almost to the point now where this car is old enough where it was cool when it came out, became kind of uncool for a very long time, and now they've mostly disappeared and we're back in the cool range. It was around $35,000 new, which in today's dollars is equivalent to about $100,000. And it's a super cool car. And of course, it's done in traditional Mercedes silver. It's awesome condition, considering that this is something that you drive every day.
Every single day.
Every single day.
Well, except for Sundays. I take Sundays off.
Because the coffee shop's closed on
That's
Sundays.
Right.
and you rarely ever put the top up.
Rarely, right.
Yeah, or never.
No, I haven't. Whenever it looks like it's going to rain, I put it up.
Okay. So you still drive it in the rain?
I try not to.
It's really cool. I always love these wheels. I don't know why. And does this have the holes? Yeah, this has the holes in the side for changing the tires, where the jack goes, which are right here.
Down there, yep.
Right there. And, you know, we all grew up with diesel Mercedes that we started driving with because Dad liked them slow and safe. And they were the easiest car to change a tire on ever, because you just stuck that thing right in the side. You didn't have to look for a jack point and jacked it up. And the tires, or the wheels, instead of having lug nuts, they had lug bolts. So again, they were very easy to change. And for some reason, we had a lot of flats. I did anyways. I don't know what I did, but we had a lot of flats. The other really cool thing about this car was it was very, very safe. And I don't know if you know this, Mark, but the reason this car was so safe was the windshield actually was integrated into the frame for rollover protection. So yeah, it was very, very safe. You always think of the later model with the pop-up roll bar that everybody loves, but this was, for the time, it was actually the safest convertible at the time for the entire run.
Well, the other reason why this car was safe was, look, side impact. So we used to call this the bank vault.
That's a heavy door.
It's a really heavy door.
Yeah. So we'll take a little peek at the interior. The interior is largely original. I think you've replaced the radio over the years.
Yes.
But other than that, I mean, it's in amazing condition. What exactly was the material here? Is that, I mean, is that just vinyl? Is that like super heavy vinyl, or what was that?
MB-Tex vinyl is what they called it. And
Is
it was
it?
like their heavy-duty vinyl, and it outlasted leather by years.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy durable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that headrest, which I can't seem to straighten up, is also crazy tough. and then you look, you look at the gauge cluster. It's a very traditional Mercedes gauge cluster. I think that was pretty much similar in every Mercedes that we had. And then that monstrous steering wheel, which looks like it belongs more on a boat
Or in a bus.
or in a bus than actually in a car. This car was considered a grand touring car, and again, Mom and Dad picked this up European delivery, and they had, remember the deal that they had with the Mercedes dealer? Do you guys remember that?
Where they would buy it and the dealer would buy it back?
So the dealer would spec the car, and Dad would buy the car, and then so it'd be picked up European delivery, and there was a certain amount of discount that you got with the European delivery. And then when the car ended up back in the United States, the dealer would buy the car back from Dad for what he paid for it. So Dad basically got, that's when he went to Europe every year. Every year he got a car for free rental, and he'd put 2,000 or 3,000 miles on it, I think, and then it was back to the dealer, and the dealer used to order the weirdest colors. Remember the
Worst color.
the worst colors. He called them neutral because no one liked them and no one hated them. And I remember, and we bought a couple of those cars, particularly that olive green one, or what was that? You owned that car for a while,
So
didn't
you
you?
have olive green. There was also like a mustard
Mustard
yellow one that was really bad.
They were just dreadful colors. But yeah, so it kind of worked out in the dealer's favor because Dad eventually bought some of those cars back. The other thing I want to point out about this particular car, and this is very rare for these cars, it actually has the original windshield wipers, which usually got tossed because, today we replaced the whole unit, where back then you actually slid out the insert, and just over time they've gotten thrown away. So that's actually a very cool accessory to still be in the car. And we all, this particular car, I think, in Dad's collection, there were cars that just got driven and that he didn't care, and he mostly cared that we were safe. And this was a super safe car, so I think every one of us took this to homecoming or some sort of prom or something like that.
This was my getaway car for when I got married.
Was it really?
Yes.
Yeah. See, there you go. Okay, let's open up the trunk and take a peek in there, because this is a pretty interesting car as far as the trunk goes. And how many cars in this era had the battery in the trunk? Because obviously the engine bay is full of engine. There's a lot of engine up there.
Every drag race car did.
Well, I'm talking about every other normal car. And interestingly enough, again, here's the manuals for the car. Okay, Chris has very studiously kept all the manuals and all the paperwork, which I don't remember ever seeing any other car besides Mercedes that had a little slot in the back for the paperwork. Under this area, I believe there is a spare, and Mark, maybe you'll do the honors of opening up the toolkit. Again, that's just an example of what a time capsule this car is that pretty much everything is there as far as we can tell. You could service this car and tune it with everything that's in that.
Mercedes-Benz on the wrenches.
That's awesome. But the big question is the 10 millimeter in there?
That's missing.
Yep, more than likely. Listen to that, and that sounded like that sick buzzer.
The seatbelt buzzer.
Yeah. That buzzer never sounded healthy at all. There we go. Let's see here. Look at that. There's a lot of emissions equipment in there. So 4.5 liter V8. Originally was out of the S class sedans, correct?
Correct.
And so they just kind of crammed it in here. It made somewhere between 180 and 220 horsepower, depending on the variation that you had. And overall, these were rock solid. This was a very reliable motor. And have you ever had any problems with it, Chris?
Nope, none.
Well, Dad bought this because this was going to be his practical sports car. Of course, practical compared to Ferrari Daytona or GT40, it's all relative.
Right. And they did like convertibles. Our parents did like convertibles, and between the 930 slant nose and this, I guess they like German convertibles because it was reliable. And again, Dad thought, since Dad was a physician as well, he thought a lot about safety, and it was a very safe car. Not void of redneck engineering there.
That's factory.
That's factory.
Yeah.
From factory zip ties from
Those
1978.
are German zip ties.
I don't even think they had zip ties in 1978, did they? So next thing is we're going to take this thing for a drive, and we're going to have a lot of fun. How fast is it?
Right now, you mean? I'll look at the speedometer and tell you.
This car is exactly the way I remember it.
It does.
Virtually, it's just as seamlessly solid as I remember it 25 years ago. 0 to 60 in 9.8 seconds.
Whoa.
Top speed of 127 miles an hour. And this is still one of the best convertible experiences I've ever had, to be honest. You don't get blown around a lot, particularly at, they said, we're going 45 miles an hour, and even with the climate control off, I'm not particularly uncomfortable. As you said over there, all curled up, freezing. Not very heaty.
No, it's not. It's a lot of good things about this, but the climate control is not one of the best features. It's 1978 climate control.
Well, that and the fact that it's 37 degrees out.
Yeah, that's a feature.
God, this car's smooth though.
It is.
And really, all you've ever done is oil changes and just general service.
That's it. In general, I've had to fix the air conditioning a couple times.
Does it still have good air conditioning, or did you just kind of give up?
I gave up on it. I just keep the top down.
Well, in the time of day when you always drive this early in the morning, and it's even during the hottest days in Kentucky, it's pretty nice out.
It is absolutely. There's very few times I have the top available in case I think it's going to rain, so I avoid wet weather. If you take it easy, you're fine, but it's in general wet weather I avoid.
But if you think about it, this car is not privy to any of the modern dandies as far as ABS, traction control.
They would make a big difference if it had that.
This has a cruise control, doesn't it? Yeah, it does.
It does. Never use it. It is. It works, but it has a fairly good brake. It's just hard. It's trying to actually keep the speed, and so I just don't use it.
It's variable. You have a variable cruise control.
It sounds. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of ballpark.
It'll vary like 500.
Between 60 and 70.
Yeah. So exactly. So I just quit using it. And also, I think that attention to driving. I don't need it. In this vehicle, you're driving for the experience. It's a fun experience, so you don't really need cruise control, and you really don't need a radio either. This is sort of a substitute for a motorcycle. You're out in the open air. You're enjoying it. It's very mechanical. Nothing's on cruise control, literally. And,
right.
So it's fun. It's actually a fun vehicle to ride.
And really, it kind of is just a big four-wheeled motorcycle. There are no real modern amenities
that
we would place in a regular regular car today.
In fact, the new motorcycles have all this GPS and all sort of thing, and the display and everything. This has none of that. This is actually just fun to drive. A while ago, I was not driving it that much. I think if it's not driven very much, I think it is time to sell it. But if you drive it all the time, there's no sense. I mean,
Well, and you and I both know that cars that are not driven end up, all of a sudden they're project cars.
And this
they deteriorate.
And this one would be that way. This one has to be driven. And the more you drive it, the more reliable it is, and it's very reliable.
Well, after looking at under the hood and seeing all those emissions, that's the stuff that goes bad. This is just a lovely car.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun. It's attractive. It kind of over a period of time, like I said, they started out being very cool, and then for a while there they lost their luster, like most cars do. But now, what happened to all of them? I think they were all used, and you don't see them anymore.
It's a good question. I mean, there were more of them.
I honestly think a lot of them were just used to the point where they ended up in the junkyard.
The funny thing about this car is sort of the evolution of my attitude towards it. When I was working all the time, all this car did was basically gather dust, and when it got out, it was mainly because I was cleaning it. But then when I retired, at that point, I realized I'd been missing an opportunity, and this then became a daily driver because it actually became fun. But prior to that, I was so preoccupied with everything else that I sort of ignored it, and now I can't imagine not owning it. But prior to that, it just sat. So.
See, that's the shit I wanted.
Okay.
Spill some more guts.
I don't know.
Pour it out.
Honestly, I don't have much.
How'd you feel about being a second born? That's the really cool part about getting older.
No, actually, time to do some enjoy, and actually just enjoy things. I mean,
I'd say you have a better appreciation of things, and knowing that we joke about the end of life decisions, but the plain fact of the matter is you're only on this good earth for so long that you do need to just take some time and smell the roses and enjoy that car that's been sitting in your garage for a decade.
And it's sat and gathered dust.
Well, I'm glad you didn't take my advice and sell it.
Every year when I paid the insurance bill, that was the first thing I thought, maybe if I just sell it. But actually, one of my neighbors, we built on the back garage, that was he said he could have saved me a lot of money. He said, all you gotta do is sell one of those cars, you didn't need that extra garage. But now I'm glad we made the garage and it was his place to stay.
Well, and you have some other cool stuff in that garage we need to pay attention to sometime.
That would be for another time, I guess, a future episode.
Well, Chris, thanks for doing this with me. I think it was an awesome car, and I'm glad you enjoy it now.
It's been a pleasure, Andy. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
You guys have a great day. We'll see you out there. It's amazing what comes out. See, not a joke.
You ask me the questions, I'll answer, but I'm not, unlike Mark, I don't have a lot of info